Future mobility and smart mobility includes all types of mobility. Starts with what we know today, at least in Israel, with buses, but they can be electric buses and more sophisticated ones. They could be autonomous vehicles, electric cars, but also softer mobility options like scooters, bikes, and other micro-mobility options that we see on the street. I think that what leads this industry is the fact that we want to grant people with the freedom to choose whatever the mode they prefer. Sometimes it could be two types of mobility in the same day, and just provide alternatives so you can have the freedom to mobile from one place to another and fulfill your objectives, either work, hobbies, and just to get access to opportunities.
Ron Broder,
Yes.
welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for joining me from Tel Aviv. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome to have you here. This show is all about, innovation, future thinking, entrepreneurship, and leadership. And I think that one of the most amazing transformations we've been seeing is the future of mobility and how we get around and how we transport. And so today you're the country manager and CEO of Broder Israel, and you're really the forefront of looking at what is the future of mobility looking like in urban areas. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing both about what this means to you today, but also sort of your own progression into this role and how this shapes up to be something that you're choosing to dedicate your time to. And
Sure.
and obviously touching a little bit on also where we're headed in terms of mobility, looking ahead. And so without further ado, Ron, tell me a little bit about this world of future mobility and what does this actually include?
Sure. So I think future mobility and smart mobility includes all types of mobility. It starts with what we know today, at least in Israel, with buses, but they can be electric buses and more sophisticated ones. They could be autonomous vehicles, electric cars, but also softer mobility options like scooters, bikes, and other micro-mobility options that we see on the street. I think that what leads this industry is the fact that we want to grant people with the freedom to choose whatever the mode they prefer. Sometimes it could be two types of mobility in the same day, and just provide alternatives so you can have the freedom to mobile from one place to another and fulfill your objectives, either work, hobbies, and just to get access to opportunities.
So what's changed? Why essentially is traditional mobility just not good enough anymore?
I think we all understood that cars are not good anymore. The infrastructure is limited. We have limited space to build buildings. We have limited space for water. We also have limited space with lanes. So the population is growing. We have more cars, but we're stuck. And our day is also limited. We have only 24 hours. So every year we spend more hours on traffic congestion. And governments understood that we should change it. So we need to allow more people to move at any given point. It's called like mass transportation. But also we need to allow them lighter options. So I think the recent decade, at least in Israel, is the understanding of, okay, we're the most congested country in the OECD. We're going to spend at least 2 more hours within the next 10 years in traffic. We need to solve it. We didn't do it like European countries decades ago. So now we need to start, and we try to collect more and more transportation models like scooters, but other transportation options as well.
And so what is it that other countries adopted a few decades ago that we didn't?
I think the most common thing is the metro, the metro system, that you come to a European capital or even later cities, you just use the metro or light rails. Very rarely buses, but still you have some. In Israel, all the transportation is based on heavy train and buses. So we all know the works about of the light rail. It will take, let's say, 10 more years, and the metro will take 20 more years. And until then, and especially with the fact that we don't have public transportation on weekends, this is the main reason that we need more alternatives and let's say solving the congestion and unblock ourselves and unlock new ways to move around.
Got it. Okay, and so tell me a little bit about the experience of scooters as a form of mobility. So this is something that now I think by now probably every listener and every viewer here has experienced either bird scooters or any other form of scooters on their own. But what do these scooters effectively represent? Sort of what are they? What is sort of the thesis behind them? And maybe even talk a little bit about sort of the way that they're built or what they're trying to accomplish in their current user experience.
Great. So I think what we see in Israel, at least, is amazing. The adoption rates are numerous and multiplies other countries by a lot. Israelis are early adopters. So we had micro-mobility options, even electric ones, before the shared scooters companies entered Israel. We used them as private scooters because people understood that they have to move around and they need to get to work and they can't be late just because their bus didn't arrive or they're staying on traffic and don't find any parking. So we did have some, but in 2018, when Bird entered Israel, it was as soft as we imagine it today because we can't imagine the city and all the nearby cities without it, because we have a good weather. At the end of the day, Israel and the center of Israel are very small. And I think it allows you the option to be free. You just ride on a scooter, you use your mobile app. You didn't think you can do such thing. You just use your mobile app and then that's it. You're moving with 25 kilometers per hour. You can get to the other side of the city within 10, 15 minutes. However, this comes with operational challenges.
Right.
And what at the beginning, we used off-the-shelf scooter because what we wanted to prove is that the concept is working. We wanted an MVP to see, okay, we deploy some vehicles in Tel Aviv. Will people use them? And they did. But these were not adopted to mass usage and let's say 10, 15 times a day. Of course, it's not the private asset of people. So when you list something, maybe not necessarily, but you treat it a bit differently.
Right.
The weights are different. They vary from one person to another. So we had to develop our own scooters. They're much more heavier. They're adapted to many people riding them, not at the same time, but every day. And also, we have operators that pick them up, charging them, maintaining them. We had to make them very easy to repair. So we will reduce labor costs and spare parts costs. Essentially, these are the most of the costs, labor and spare parts. So we had to build something that is very is fit to share the riding. And I think today what we see is for each one of the companies, by the way, is like the fourth generation after many engineers, some from the aerospace industry and the car industry, put thoughts and resources on developing these vehicles. And now we see totally different vehicle. It's basically a computer with a brain that can use us and the regulators, the cities, to use more advanced technologies regarding geofencing and slowing down the vehicle, accurate parking, etc. So it's not just a scooter, electric scooter that you can ride. It's basically a computer that can also implement regulation and policies.
And there's a whole ecosystem around the charging, right? So the way that you're creating an incentive system for how to keep these scooters operational. By the way, just for context, what in numbers, where are we at? So how many scooters do we even have in Tel Aviv right now?
So Broder has around 5,000 vehicles spread in 10 cities. So it's not just Tel Aviv, it's Tel Aviv, Ramat Gan, Givatayim, Ramat HaSharon, Holon, Bat Yam, Petach Tikva, even Ashdod, Eilat.
So 5,000 scooters. Now, I would imagine that on average, you probably have to charge one at least every 2 days, unless...
Exactly.
Okay, and so that's a lot of operations. I guess you don't have Bird employees running around on scooters, going and charging...
With a helmet.
With the helmet. How do you go about getting all of these to charge?
Right. So we have a massive... This is part of our job, to set operations correctly. Operation excellence is what we care about. So we have our own data metrics that can support the establishment of such a system. And then at the end of the day, you need vendors, operators to do it. So contractors, vendors that we ask them either to charge, either to rebalance, either to move, either to repair. Everything is task-based, so you get it's a paper task. You see the operations on the map, you get the vehicle, everything is monitored, and then you do what we ask you to do. You do it properly, and then you deploy the vehicle back. However, this doesn't replace the safety measurements that we take, and we use our own in-house mechanics, and we monitor, and quality check of the vehicle is very important for us. So either way, we meet the vehicle every here and then. These are more confidential numbers, but we use to repair and maintenance and preserve the safety of the vehicle very often, regardless the charging and the rebalancing of the vehicle.
So it sounds like it's not that what you're alluding to is that part of the sort of, I guess, the operational excellence or your ability to operate something at such scale. It's also your ability to be very data driven as a company. So your ability to understand and what needs charging, when, what needs rebalancing, and then how do you then go and automate a lot of that process with vendors?
Sure. I think this is the process those companies had within the years. At the beginning, it was proving the concept. Then it was all about scale and proving cities that it's possible. But we all know the stories of the companies. Money today is a bit more expensive than it was. And today, the buzzword and what we care about is margins. We need to make our operations be as cost effective as we can. And this is part of the job. Data driven, monitoring, and pushing our margins to be better every day, every month, and at the end of the day, be profitable. We need to finance. We need to finance new vehicles every time. The gaps are becoming a bit bigger. So we used to have a new vehicle, a new type of vehicle every 6 months, 1 year. Now it happens every 2-3 years. I guess the gaps will only be bigger, but still, this is something that companies need to finance, and we generate our money from rides. So this is why we care about margins, and this is part of the job, the P&L, monitoring, understanding all the metrics, and at the end of the day, how every action that we do as a company is reflected in the unit economics.
Tell me a little bit about your own journey. So you care a lot about the space. You've been in the future of mobility since before Bird. What is sort of your relationship to this future of mobility? How did it get started? And why is this something that you're so passionate about?
So I think it's a very good question. I think all the journey I had is consisted within my current role. I was passionate about transportation. I think since I was young, I always told people, I'll be Minister of Transportation one day. Because I think I used to live in Estiona. This is where I grew up. I used to come a lot to Tel Aviv. ride with buses. I was moving all the time, and I appreciate like how the quality of transportation makes you feel more free. So I think I really like this industry. Then during my studies of economy and law, I worked at IBM. So there I developed a bit my tech savviness and the approach towards technologies. And if I can add to that the legal knowledge that I have, I'm also an attorney, but I didn't work as one. And the numbers, the economy behind those industries brought me to a stage that future mobility really interests me, and I think I can contribute a lot. I started in Future Mobility, was an NGO dealing with smart mobility. Basically, we said that with implementing the technologies that we developed here in Israel as the startup nation, we can solve the congestion of Israel. We're good with exporting, but let's implement it, though there are regulatory barriers. So we help government, the government and companies to overcome those regulatory barriers.
And by the way, so when you were in that position, was e-scooters and the adoption and implementation of third-party e-scooters in Israel, was that a part of a larger understanding that this is something that will be a potential mitigation?
Exactly, and I think one of the topics we dealt with was the implementation of helmets in Israel, and it's a great use case of safety regulation. The city of Tel Aviv required helmets, but also very operational and cost heavy. Purchasing and developing even the lock. It was like think that we were at the beginning of this industry, just 2 years, and then the new seatbelt was invented, a helmet. And then we helped the companies with Tel Aviv municipality. It was during COVID times. It could, if not implemented correctly, it could be the end of shared scooters in Israel. Tel Aviv City understood how heavy it is. They postponed it within a year, and I think it proved itself. It let the companies some time to develop more sustainable locks and sustainable helmets. And today, we walk at the street and we see plenty of helmets, and we see people using them. So I think this intervention of regulatory knowledge as well help the companies. And I think these were my first steps with the e-scooter industry. And then it was very native that I would, natural that I would move on to one of these companies, at least to lead the policy and government partnership side. It also includes a lot of requests for proposal, RFPs, MOUs. So then I started my first steps in Bird before becoming the country manager and CEO.
Amazing. Where are we heading, do you think? So if we look at congested cities 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, are e-scooters the solution? Are they a sort of a path towards a solution? What world are you envisioning in terms of future mobility?
So we tend to say that we're a first last mile solution, but in Israel we not just first last mile solution. We're also the A to B. People just use us as their favorite option. I think that what we will see more is more investment first in infrastructure.
Yeah,
we need public transportation lanes, public bike lanes, and it's proven. When you have bike lanes, people ride more. They feel more safe. And if you ask people why don't ride scooters, they will tell you probably safety. So
yes.
If you solve the safety problem and you just have the safer bike lane, people will use it more. So it starts with infrastructure, and then I think It's all about what you teach people when they're young. So if you teach people that they should use cars, eventually this is what they do. But if you start very young to use the bus, use the light rail, if young kids will use the light rail, apparently when there will be 20, 30 and they need to commute to their work, it will be just natural.
Absolutely.
I think every year the mode split, and as a country we need to monitor it as well. Do we take people from the private cars and move them to other alternatives? As long as we had goals and targets, I think we'll get there. And yes, shared scooters will be there as a massive alternative. I think we're growing our market share as companies, both from the entire ridership and also from other mode splits. It's just growing every year, and it's not the only solution. And we also respect intermobility and the use of bus and then a scooter. The mobility as a service will just get bigger. We're changing from owning cars to use cars, but just as an alternative. So also Autotel, Share, all the other alternatives will be there, but it will take time. And I think our politicians, regulators have the power to say whether it will be within 10 years or 20 years. Enforcement is important, and the investment and resources in the infrastructure. So it's an ecosystem. It's not just the companies. It's not just the private sector. It's also the public sector and the officials and politicians.
Ron, thank you so much for taking the time with me. As somebody who's experienced a lot of the transformation myself here in our city, I can definitely attest to how awesome it was to see specifically, the way in which the evolution that you're talking to. I distinctly remember the older generation of, the very first scooters that came into Tel Aviv from Broder, and then the evolution into the heavier scooters and the doubling down on the helmets, and the entire sort of ecosystem here is sort of upgrading and transitioning to this new thinking model. And so I very, very much appreciate having experienced much of that transformation, and I'm very excited about what's coming up. So thank you again for taking the time to talk with me, and I'm excited to continue seeing where you grow.
It was really fun. Thank you for everything you're doing.